Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on the program today, some troubling news for your Houston Texans. But fear not, Texans fans. At the end of today's show, I've got a little bit of a silver lining for you that I think might help the Texans get a dub this Saturday. So stay tuned and make sure if you are in today's video, one, make sure you're hitting that sub button. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a thing. But two, I had some startling news of my own, some troubling news for Jeremy Chuggs in that only 9% of people who are subscribed to the channel have their notifications turned on. So if you could do me a quick favor, one, make sure you hit that sub button. But two, if you are subbed, please hit that notification bell and select the all option. That means if I ever drop a breaking news video, if anything ever happens here on the channel, you'll be notified. It lets my bosses know, hey, Texans fans, they want more content. They're here for the long haul. So make sure, one, you hit that sub button, but two, hit that notification bell, because out of the Chat Sports company, out of the Chat Sports brand, Texans are actually bottom 5 in notifications. So if you could help me out, help my bosses, and hit that notification bell. So the troubling news for you Houston Texans, they actually just announced the officiating crew for this Saturday, and the Chiefs are 6-0. 6 wins, 0 losses all time, with Clay Martin being the head official for their games. This is troubling news for the Houston Texans. Obviously, we all know the memes. We all know the funny stuff with Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, and officials. And I will say this. The Chiefs haven't lost a lot of games over the past 4 or 5 years, so this could be a little, of a skewed stat of that, oh, of course, they're 6-0 with this official because they win most of their games. But we all know Patrick Mahomes, Patty, has every single ref in his pocket, and it really didn't matter who the NFL picked to be the officiating crew for this game. It really didn't matter because we all know that the Chiefs have some sort of voodoo magic, whatever you want to call it, over these games where it seems like every 50-50 call, every single thing that could go the Chiefs' way does go the Chiefs' way. And it just kind of adds in to this whole storyline between the Texans and Chiefs this Saturday during the divisional round, because we all remember what happened during the regular season, right? We all remember what happened during this regular season matchup, Week 16 for the Houston Texans, where Patrick Mahomes, incomplete pass. I'm going to say it was a fumble, fumbles the ball. Texans scoop and score it for a touchdown. But wait, no, it's actually not a fumble. It's an incomplete pass and a 15-yard penalty on the Houston Texans. And this is my pinned tweet still on my Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. And no, I will not get over it. So if you think that was a fumble, if you agree with me that that was a fumble, go ahead and type me down in the comments section. I can't be the only one who still thinks that that was a fumble. Go down and type me, because this is just, you know it's going to happen, right? You're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. You know for a fact that they're going to get calls that they shouldn't have. And at the end of the day, I would expect it. I expect at least 2 calls that shouldn't go the Chiefs' way, go their way, and they get the benefit of the doubt. DeMeco should have the team ready for this, because we all know it's going to happen. I'm not going to act surprised whenever during Saturday's game there is a 50-50 or a controversial call and somehow the Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to get bamboozled. I'm not going to get shocked with that. But we should be ready for that and still be able to play through it, because they are professionals. This is a professional team, and I believe in DeMeco Ryans and the leadership of this team to get the Texans through that this Saturday. Now, coming up, the latest injury news on both sides. Some more troubling news for the Houston Texans, where this offensive line, is it not figured out? Maybe, maybe not. But before I get into all the injury news, got to give a quick shout out to my friends over at Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there with over 5 million active members. Folks, get started today. It's really, really simple. All you got to do, choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And if you're like, Jeremy, I don't even know where to start. Well, hey, let's take a look at my lineup for the divisional round. I have the Texans and Chiefs game in there a little bit, but I also had to, sprinkle a little bit of some of the other divisional games as well. I have C.J. Stroud more on the rushing yards. Derrick Henry more on his rushing yards. Lamar Jackson more on his rushing yards. You're kind of getting a theme here with my picks for this Saturday and Sunday. Nico Collins, I think he's going to get a touchdown. And then James Cook. I like this, the little combo, rushing and receiving yards. Give me the more on that. You can use my picks, go against them. Just do it on Prize Picks because it's playoff time. It's now or never. And whether or not it's the Houston Texans or maybe you're looking at the college football national championship, make some money and don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started today with our friends over at Prize Picks. Run your game. So I thought for the injury reports, it'd be a lot easier to start with the Kansas City Chiefs because coming off a bye week, they don't have many injuries. I was looking at the injury reports for both sides, and the Texans injury report a little bit more lengthy than the Chiefs injury report. The only player that was listed as a limited participant was wide receiver Mecole Hardman. He was the only one that wasn't a full participant for this week of practice for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, obviously, the rest worked for them. They also rested all their starters in Week 18 where they lost to the Denver Broncos. And obviously, they have the benefit of the doubt. They have a little bit more leeway because they were able to get that first round bye. So, Chiefs don't really have a lot of injuries to talk about on today's show. The Texans, though, on the other hand, these guys were limited on Tuesday, and then some of them were able to come back and play on Wednesday. A couple of them actually DNPs on Tuesday. But let's talk about the guys that came back to practice today. And the number one guy everybody should be knowing about, talking about for the Texans on their injury report is Shaq Mason. Right guard, back at practice today. Played 15 games for the Texans, 8 sacks allowed. I do wonder if he'll be able to play this Saturday. There's been a lot of speculation around him ever since he had that injury during the regular season that's kept him out for multiple weeks. I mean, I don't know if the Texans' offensive line has necessarily been that much better, that much worse without Shaq Mason, but it's yet another change that could possibly happen along the front five for this Houston Texans team and for C.J. Stroud, who's counting on those guys to make sure he's upright this Saturday. So the question then bears, will he play or do you mix in Juice Scruggs again? I don't know what they're going to necessarily do. From everything I saw at practice today, they still had Juice Scruggs in the starting lineup at right guard. Now, that could change depending on whether or not Shaq Mason is healthy enough to go. Maybe they do more shuffling around, move Scruggs back to left guard, move Shaq Mason to right guard, move Titus Howard back to right tackle. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. I think they might have Shaq Mason in the wings ready to go. I think they're going to go with the lineup that they've, trotted out there the past 3 weeks. I think that's what they're going to end up doing. But you never know. You never know. There's no solid lineup yet for this Texans offensive line. So it could be those guys back in the starting lineup, or they could change it once again. That Texans starting offensive line up in the air for Saturday as of right now. And then, along with that, I want to ask a quick question because, as I mentioned, Texans starting offensive line could get a shakeup this weekend. If it was up to you, though, who would you want to start at right guard? I'm only going to give you the two options, Juice Scruggs and Shaq Mason. Let me know down in the comments section. Type JS for Juice Scruggs. Type SM for Shaq Mason. Who do you think, not who do you think they will, who do you think should, if it was up to you, start at right guard for your Houston Texans? Next up, Cade Stover. Now, I mentioned him in my Deontay Johnson video yesterday, which I know a lot of people were, or 2 days ago, which a lot of people were saying, Jeremy, you were too mad. Jeremy, why are you so angry? Da, da, da. I know I blew off a little steam on Deontay Johnson. I was a little upset just because this is a pivotal moment for your Houston Texans. And to have guys quitting on the team, that's just upsetting for me. But at the end of that video, I talked about Cade Stover. And probably another reason why I was so upset is that the rookie tight end, his season is over. He is being placed on IR, so we won't see any more Cade Stover for the rest of the playoffs, which is another upsetting thing because I thought, he really was a good safety valve, a good safety blanket for C.J. Stroud in that Chargers game, and it's really upsetting that we won't get to see him play anymore for the rest of this season. That means the Texans could once again activate Tegan Quitoriano, who has been on and off the practice squad, on and off the active roster over the past 2 years, has been dealing with a ton of injuries of his own. So we could see Tegan Quitoriano back in the starting lineup for your Houston Texans. I don't know about starting lineup, actually. I think even if he gets moved to the active roster, I think they'll roll with Irv Smith Jr. and Dalton Schultz as the 2 tight ends. But Tegan could get some playing time. We know Bobby Sloak, this Texans offense, loves some 12 personnel, that 1 running back, 2 tight end sets. They run it quite a bit. Also, another name to keep your eye on, Andrew Beck. I think that could be another one for the Houston Texans. But a silver lining that I kind of wanted to talk about on today's show is they did go ahead and sign Jared Wayne to the active roster after releasing Deontay Johnson. And actually, right before I started filming this, funny enough, the Ravens actually just picked up Deontay Johnson, believe it or not. So he's back with the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know why any team would pick him up. I think they're just doing it for the comp pick. I hope so, but we'll see. But positive, Jeremy. Back to Jared Wayne. I think this is a good thing for Jared Wayne. A little bit of a redemption arc. Because if you remember the last time we saw Jared Wayne, and I think the last time Texans fans thought about Jared Wayne was in that last regular season game up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Because Jared Wayne was the wide receiver that ended up running into Tank Dell and getting him injured. And obviously, he got a lot of hate. There was a lot of people on both sides saying, Jared Wayne, it was his fault. It wasn't. I in no way think that it was Jared Wayne's fault. No chance that I think that he had anything to do with that play of Tank Dell and him getting injured and the horrific injury that he suffered up against the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do think this could be an amazing redemption arc for Jared Wayne. Things in life, sometimes they happen for a reason. Sometimes, certain things happen and you're like, wow, I can't believe it worked out that way. And I think this could be one of those times, right? Because Jared Wayne, he was beat up more than anybody during that Chiefs game and after that Chiefs game because of what happened with him and Tank Dell. And this is a time where maybe he gets his opportunity. Maybe Jared Wayne gets a chance to make a huge play for the Houston Texans up against the Kansas City Chiefs in the same stadium where that gruesome injury happened. So I will be watching out for Jared Wayne. I will be rooting for Jared Wayne this Saturday to make an impact, to make a big play. Because past Nico Collins, past Dalton Schultz, there's really no legitimate pass catcher that the Texans have that I'm super confident in. Obviously, you have Xavier Hutchinson, you have John Mechie, but I'll be looking out for number 14. I'll be looking out for Jared Wayne on Saturday because I'm excited to see if he can maybe come up with a huge play for the Houston Texans.